Welcome everybody to a special meeting. I have no leave of absence. Tony's there now, and we have an apology from Richard Miller. So would someone like to move we accept that apology from Richard, Councillor Miller? Moved,
Yeah.
Councillor De Vries, and seconded.
Yes, Bim.
Yeah, Councillor Angus. All those in favour? Yep, carried. Thank you. As you know, our item 2.1.1 is the Rex Leisure Pool repairs and upgrades. I understand, chatting to the CEO, that there is a further bit of more information that we need to hear and take on board. Martin?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Obviously, this is a little bit of a moving beast, but I think we have a middle of the road that would find a good avenue for everybody, and this is only last 15-20 minutes. So the recommended tile is one of the main risk factors for doing everything now, and that could potentially push the project out as a project risk. We do have some level of comfort in the last few hours that figures and other bits and pieces are reasonably solid. There is an alternative mechanism, and I can read the email out to you if you want, but one of the things that we can do is still use similar tile, which Matt can talk about the technicalities. Still use the same tile, which we do have some in stock and we can get in. The main area that FMG have concern about is the methodology of how you would hear tile. You know, basically, in my layman's terms, don't use Aqua here, use something much better. And that is the main issue where some tiles have across multiple sites burst, I guess, or lifted. So those tiles are available, and we would be able to achieve, you know, best case scenario, an opening within the first 2 weeks of April. The other tile does have the, oops, hang on, does have the short risk of
It's. I think maybe David needs to mute again, or
yeah, it is. Yeah, that's it. The broader tile is
David, Councillor Hayvick, can you mute yours at the moment?
muted. He's muted.
He's already muted.
Okay, good. Okay.
So at the end of the day, the latest information we have is with the use of the current tile, but a much better adherence gluing system, which is recommended by FMG, no matter which way we go, we can achieve this within the overall initial budget of the initial budget, the budget of 450. The other concern that Matt rightly raises with me, and Hydrilla, the contractor, raises with me, is they believe they will find more and more tiles as we start to take them off. So this all started, we had planned to do something like 400 tiles already. So that's why we'd started the work. Now we're up to 560 a few days ago, now we're up to 1100. So the middle of the road solution is we can go for what we patch, but we'll have to go back in 12 to 18 months later with still 3 months downtime. We can wait for the other tile, which we can't guarantee, but all going well, it would be pretty much the end of May. Or we can go for the middle of the road, which is still the super duper adhesive mechanism, using the same tile we've currently got. And we would be able to achieve that at the moment. I think, Matt, you had it at something like the 14th of April.
That's correct.
And what would the cost be to that, Martin?
No difference.
And what would, by using the existing tiles, what would be the life expectancy?
We're still forecasting, through you, Mr. Mayor, we're still provided a 20-year, it'll be a 20-year warranty. It'll be as per the supplier's warranties. So we still forecast a 20-year. The risk with using the alternative tile is just risk of supply. That's absolutely, in terms of de-risking the whole operation, using the alternative tile would be, the least risk in terms of technical risk, but it introduces a timing risk to the project. And on balance, when you're doing these projects, you have a cost, timing, and also technical consideration as well. So continuing, we can reduce the time frame by using the existing supplied tiles, but rather than using the existing tile as gluing system, we'll go to the alternative gluing system, which has been recommended to us from FMG when we asked that question.
So, yeah, Councillor Rees. Okay, I've got another question, but
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Matt, basically, by going with the improved adhesive, that could, in theory, then give us the full Monty version, because it would effectively increase the validity of the standard tile that we've got now. So we basically could end up getting the long-term outcome simply by getting the better adhesive. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. FMG have raised some concerns using the existing tile, but that there's no evidence to back up that support. So out of an abundance of caution, FMG have been specifying the existing tiles on all projects across their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
But when we've gone back to them and said we've got some supply issues with the alternative, they've come back and said, okay, if you were to continue with the existing tiles, the recommendation from us is to absolutely use the alternatives adhesive and membrane system. And also, if I can just expand, we've also will allow in the project for FMG to come out and provide hold point clearance for us. So during that construction period, once the tiles are all off, they'll come and do an inspection before the waterproof membrane goes in. Then the waterproof membrane goes in. We'll get another independent specialist to assess and sign off that waterproof membrane. And then we'll also get FMG to come in during that tile period. It just means if we continue with the existing tiles, we need to use the alternative waterproof membrane system and gluing system, and we also need to increase the spacing for expansion joints.
And that would then get us the whole thing sorted and at a cheaper price, and also get it done by April.
Not at the cheaper price, Councillor De Vries. The price stays the same no matter what tile or gluing system we use.
Because of the membrane and the additional labour. I see.
Councillor Hayvick, you've got your hand up.
I've got my hand up. I had a question in relation to the membrane, but Matt's just covered that. But I agree that we should go ahead with it and simply go for the whole lot at this stage, because I can't see any reason to
Can you turn your microphone on, Dave?
Sort of was.
No,
Can you hear me now? Hey?
Oh, it was
Can you hear
coming.
me?
No, Tony, that causes a feedback.
no. We can hear him okay. Tony, can't you hear him?
Somehow he's got two microphones running.
I'm listening over the phone as well.
Yeah. Carry on, David.
Anyway, just saying, I think the way to go is that for the top rate, get it done as quick as we can. I don't want to come back in 2 to 3 years and say we have to spend another 450,000.
Councillor Hearn.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Hayvick. As I think I put a note out a few days ago when I first spoke to Matt, it's a fait accompli that we just do the job properly, put the membrane down and do the whole lot and if it takes a little bit longer, a stitch in time saves 9, and that's exactly what we'll be doing. And we can just explain that to the general public if there's a backlash.
Councillor De Vries.
Yeah, given the information we've received tonight, I'm willing to move the recommendation, except that I would go with that middle option. So I guess that is effectively not really the recommendation, but it would be saying that we go the full Monty. You'll have to put the language in, Martin, but with the current tiles that are freely available. My biggest concern. I'll give my reasoning, but I guess you need a seconder. So,
I'll just.
Do you have a language there, Martin, that we can?
Just hang on. I just want to. John had his hand up. Have you got a question, John? First, before I.
Thanks.
Okay, Angus. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor. I assume that there is no the original installers and manufacturers of these of the pool. I guess they've gone broke, so that's one aspect. But it seems to me tiles are rarely at fault. But if they are, there should be a manufacturer's warranty. It is almost invariably either the substrate or the adhesive that has failed. I'm just confused as to why we're blaming the tiles, but still being prepared to reuse the same ones again if they're in fact at fault. So, Matt, maybe you can explain, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the report from FMG wasn't so specific in terms of the definitive failure mode, other than to say the tiles, and this is in their words, the tiles have reached their end of life. And there's several elements to why the new system will be vastly improved from the existing state. You're correct. You have the tiles, you have the grout, and then you have the adhesive and the waterproof membrane. There is no waterproof membrane in the pool at the moment. When the pool was constructed, it wasn't specified for a waterproof membrane. So installing a waterproof membrane gives the greater flexibility, provides the better adhesion to that substrate, which is the concrete pool, and in putting in additional expansion joints allows for any risk should those tiles grow with the absorption of water over their life.
Sorry, can I just add to that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, and then I'll, yes, carry on. Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, the key point about the private one previous, that was 12 years ago, and obviously technology does change. John, you are correct. Obviously, that constructors, we did our best to manage the administration of our company at the time. So you are correct. We don't have anybody else to go back to.
Councillor De Vries, before we tidy up the motion, Councillor Johnston's got a question.
Just an observation that this is the joys of owning a pool. My understanding, I just want to check with Councillor De Vries, is your motion the motion on page 6 with some modification?
No, my motion is that we go for the full treatment.
Well, that's what page 6 says.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
So
yes, it does.
the motion up the top is the motion to do the sort of stopgap repairs, whereas the motion on page 6 is to do the full repairs, but using the existing tile type is probably the change.
Yeah, I'll show you the motion in a minute when we.
I'm prepared to second if it's the one on page 6.
I wasn't aware that there was a motion on page 6, but there's an option description which yes would form the language of the motion. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Johnston.
Yeah. All right.
Just Mr. Mayor, I'll put the alternative resolution up on the screen for a second. So
Yep.
we're all clear. And Kathy Schilling's got a hand. You may not see that one.
Oh, okay. Yep. Councillor Schilling.
Yes, if we go with the full option, I just want you to, could CEO Martin McCarthy confirm how that will affect the long-term financial plan?
Thanks, Councillor Stilling. It's a good question, and in context of the second resolution, that's a piece of work that I'll have to go and do. I haven't fully done that as yet. And you mean in terms of the cost of? Okay, you're talking in terms of the cost of the actual. Yeah, the cost of the actual 450 grand.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's further down in the report, but so the overall cost that I did represent the original model of 588,000 if we did it 2 stages. So you'll see that won't affect the operating because this is a capital cost. So what in essence it will do will mean that we'll have a bit less cash, and you'll see now that I've scrolled down to it that the net financial liabilities will go up slightly, but they won't go up by the 588. They'll only go up by the 450.
Okay.
And all the indicators still remain within acceptable limits. Okay. In essence, we're going to use up some forward cash.
Right. So we don't have to loan to do this?
No. Basically, how we manage our cash flow is we only borrow money if we have treasury requirements. So, you know, if we're going to spend $30 million, we may have to borrow 10 million, but that was all set at the beginning of each year. So in this particular instance, at the moment, we wouldn't borrow for this particular activity. But if we start needing borrowings for cash because we've got all the big project work to be done, then that's all factored into the budget already.
Okay, great, thank you. And what I just had one more question, if I may. And why is it a capital when it's repairs and maintenance? Could you clarify that, please?
Yeah, I guess the really simplest way I could put it is it's a little bit no different than putting a new seal on top of a road. So what we're doing is we're returning the service level back to its original, plus we're doing some upgrades as well.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, so therefore it is, and our solution is for a 20-year. I've said 20-year plus, but we should get 25 years. But so therefore it gets depreciated over that next 25 years. But yeah, a really good way to think about it is, yeah, it's one of our local roads. It's got a hole in it. We've put a top over the top, and all that top gets capitalised as well. Except for the tiny hole, if we only repair the tiny hole.
So have you got that one you're putting up, Martin, on page 6?
He's working on it, Tony.
Good.
Yes, I'm fine with that language.
Agreed.
That's consider that's the motion that I've moved.
Were you going to second it, Russell, or me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, no, Russell's already seconded it. Any further comments? Everyone clear on what the motion is?
Yes.
I'm happy to speak to it if you like.
Yep. Okay. Yep, you speak to it.
Okay. Very simply, I was originally entering this meeting with the assumption that we would actually go with the motion as it was currently presented. I understand Councillor Hearn's concern that it would feel like we're going in for 2 bites of the cherry and that would have created additional expense. My concern was very much that while that might not necessarily been the most economically expedient option, I was thinking more in terms of time and disruption to the community. The community has gone through hell over the last couple of years, as pretty much everybody has in Australia. There's been so much disruption in everybody's lives, and the idea of going to the community and saying we're going to entertain a complete refit of the pool. However, we don't know when we'll get the tiles, and it could be in 3 months, it could be in 6, it could be at the end of the year. We don't know. I think would have been simply unconscionable. But this, I believe, is not that situation anymore. This is actually giving reasonable certainty. The process will be undertaken. Yes, it's going to extend a little bit the time it's going to take. But then on the great bonus is we're not then going back in a year and a half's time and saying, sorry, we're going to have to bump everybody out a second time. And that would have also, I think, created certain frustration within the community if we'd had to go through it twice. So I came into this meeting feeling that we were on a hiding to nothing, whichever way we went. This feels like a good option. It feels like we can deal with it. I agree with Councillor Angus. I think the tiles themselves probably are less of a problem than that the adherence and the membrane is put in correctly. If this is going to buy us 25 years of life, that should probably see me out, actually. So I'm very happy with that. I think, therefore, this seems to be a good middle path and makes a lot of sense. So I hope everybody supports the resolution.
Councillor Johnston, and then I see Councillor Boothby, you've got your hand up. So Councillor Johnston, you as the seconder.
Yes, I'd just like to ask people to support this motion, and I'd like to thank the officers for tracking down the fact that we can get access to the right tiles to get the job done. So thank you very much for everyone involved.
Councillor Boothby.
Thanks, Mayor. I've got a couple of questions. I guess I'm just keen to understand better the service impacts. So the original Part B of Part 1, which I think just that quick in terms of the revised version is still in there as was. So basically, so there's that Part B actually looks like quite a bit of work for the team in a short time in terms of communication strategy, potential fee implications and what you might do about that. So you're just basically keen to understand the service implications and also therefore, what sort of fee waivers might need to be required. Can we actually provide that direction today to try and actually make, speed up the processes? But also having a look at the service loss. Is there any benefit or potential benefit in extending the season for the outdoor pools to offset that sort of service impact? And also we haven't talked about the procurement process either in terms of we are going to be waiving that process. I think it'd be good to have a chat about that as well.
Thank you. CEO.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, some good questions and all that. Have you still got me?
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Councillor Boothby. Yes, we've done a little bit of work, obviously, on the pond strategy with the first stage of it, depending whatever result was going to happen. We need to engage with Belgravia to get a true handle on what all the service impacts are, and simply have not had time to do that on Friday and Monday. And I'm not convinced it's a significant amount of work, but we will get that back to you as soon as possible. I think as a general rule, any recommendation is going to be any fees and charges associated with the where we can't reschedule the activities on the leisure pools will be refunded. That won't have a significant impact on the budget, but I'm also mindful that obviously Belgravia, being our management organisation, also has employees and things like that sitting off the back end of that contract as well. In terms of the procurement, I'm glad you brought that up because I think we do need to turn our mind to that. The current company, Hydrilla, are well attuned to doing this work. They have been appointed under the previous contract, which, yes, was expected to be under $100,000, but was appointed appropriately under that contract. I don't think it. I don't have any technical and or work health safety and or qualification issues with Hydrilla. Matt will have to talk about the technical skills. And in terms to actually achieve the particular outcome, we need Hydrilla to keep going in that capacity. And they are well attuned to providing the services to commercial pools. Matt, I don't know if you can add to that.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. We have a contract that is drafted and ready to go out in terms of responding to that procurement, and it will be. We'll just need to waive the requirement to seek multiple quotations, considering the I guess the investment that the existing contractors already put into the project. There's not many players in this space, so there's not many specialist construction firms that specialise in pool adhesive and construction systems. So, I'm confident that we've got the appropriate contractor, but with also the additional safeguards of using FMG as our own representatives during the construction process to advise us as to whether the construction has been completed in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications.
So, Mr. McCarthy, in light of the policy, do we need to add to that recommendation the waiving of the procurement?
It's part 2 of the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Good on you. Last question. Councillor Booth's suggestion about extending the outdoor pools, is that something we can sort of see how the season pans out and make that call if need be?
What I'll commit to is do as much work as we possibly can in the next few days. We've got a council meeting Tuesday next week, so we may be able to get an addendum report to you and ready to consider at that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loath to make certain commitments until we've done the actual next step of research.
Yep. No, fair enough. Okay. Any further comments?
Nope.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour, if you can just put your hands up nice so I can see them all. Yep. Carla. Yep. Okay. No one's hollering out. Is anyone against? That's probably the easiest way. All right. The motion's carried. Thank you. That's our agenda for tonight. So we'll see you all next Tuesday.
And can I echo Russell's comment? Thanks, Matt and Martin, for finding a solution which is palatable.
Yep. Well done. Very good. Catch you soon.
See ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
See you next week.